Welcome to Speaking of Schaumburg. I'm Village President Larson. In this episode, we'll be joined by Martha Dooley to learn more about this year's Farmers Market. Then we'll talk to Bill Flesch and the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association of Schaumburg. We'll close out the program by speaking with Bob Myers and Bob Brandt from the Experimental Aircraft Association, Schaumburg chapter. All of this and more today here on Speaking of Schaumburg. A sure sign of summer in Schaumburg is the opening of the Farmers Market at Town Square. Martha Dooley is here to tell us all about what we can look forward to finding there. Well, welcome to Speaking of Schaumburg, Martha.
Thank you for asking me to be here.
Well, tell us about the Farmers Market here and how many years has this been going on and what can we expect to buy there?
Okay. Well, the Farmers Market started in 1980 over at Town Square. I think a gentleman by the name of Cliff Sklar started it. Sklar, okay. And
pharmacist.
He was a pharmacist out there, yeah. And so it began in 1980 at Town Square on Sundays, and then it moved to Mondays, and then it moved to Fridays. And where it ended up, it stayed in Town Square for about 11 years. And after it moved from there, it went to the Schaumburg Transportation Company's lot, which were the School District 54's buses on Roselle Road. And when that property was purchased in around 1994, 1995, the market moved to St. Peter's Lutheran Church over on Schaumburg Road. Then shortly thereafter, in 2000, it moved over to Town Square, where it's been since that time. When the market started, there were about 10 or 15 vendors. And today now, there's 31 vendors at the market, and we're enjoying a great situation there at Town Square. Lots of parking for people.
Now, how does that work? I mean, if they had a spot last year, they're entitled to the same spot the following year? Is that?
I give preference to the vendors that have been with me before.
Sure.
Because they show their loyalty to the market and they have a strong customer base. Mm-hmm. So I like to have them come back, and unless they request it, I put them in the same location so people coming the following year will know right where to go to find them.
Sure.
Yeah.
You ever get any neighborly disputes as to where they should be and where they'd like to be? Or?
Well, we work that all out on the first day pretty much.
Okay.
And I have to say I have a great group of vendors. I'm really happy with them. It's a very nice ambiance at the market between the vendors themselves and also with the customers. So we've had great success over there at Town Square.
Now you have entertainment there too, don't you?
Yeah, about 5 times a year we have entertainment. We have folk singers, we have a harpist that comes and plays, and then we have a string duet and trio that come. So they're very popular. We like to have them play on cultural arts days and some of the other theme days that we have, Health and Safety Day, as well as, I can't think of what the third one is. In Sports and Recreation Day. We have the Park District come, and then we'll invite the Boomers to have their mascot come out and pay us a visit at the market as well.
Where all these people come from? Where are your vendors?
The vendors, some come from Michigan, actually are about the furthest away, and some from...
All the way from Michigan? They must have more than one stop, I would think, don't they?
No, they come just for our market that day, and it's not uncommon for them to sell out.
Really?
So, yeah. Mm-hmm. They come to about one market a day. They do have several markets in Illinois.
What do they bring?
They're not a lot of big popular things are their blueberries, obviously, and their peaches. Great cherries come from Michigan, and then they'll have plums and pears and a lot of apples. So mostly they're fruit vendors for us. Okay. I do have some produce vendors from Marengo, and then a cut flower vendor who comes from a little bit further south. So primarily, I would say they're from Illinois, but we do have some that come in from Michigan.
Do you limit how much people can bring for sale? Or?
Oh, no, there's no limits at all. The only guidelines we have are that the product has to be grown or produced by the vendor that's selling it. Mm-hmm. And so everything there, the customers can be assured that those are homegrown or homemade products.
How many customers do you have typically?
We'll have, I would say, 500 to 1,000 people every Friday or more. We've had a couple markets on 4th of July where I'm sure we've had 2,000 or 2,000 people. I can remember one 4th of July, most of the vendors were sold out by 11 in the morning. And the market runs from 7 to 1. So, it's very, very popular.
They have to get there early enough to make sure this stuff is there they would like to have, huh?
Right, yeah.
Now, there's things there besides fruits and vegetables. What else? What else do you find at the farmers market?
We have a lot of different types of products: baked goods, jams and honeys. We have Cup and Vine comes and sells coffee at the market. It's a nice early market, so it's good for that. Salsa. We have a couple vendors. We have one vendor that makes crepes on site and another that makes kettle corn, popcorn on site.
Really?
Yeah, the aromas of those things are wonderful. And then new this year, we have a gentleman that's selling barbecue sauces and marinades and rubs and things like that for your barbecuing needs. And we also have a new vendor that's coming that will be selling bedding plants, perennials and annuals and things along that line, so a garden center. And another new vendor who sells organically sourced veggie burgers. That's a new product for us, and I'm happy to have something that's organic, because a lot of people ask for that. But we also have fresh cut flowers, granola. We have a vendor that makes his own dog treats. He's very, very popular. And then, of course, knife sharpening, has been at the market for, since I started back at St. Peter's.
Big wheel,
Yeah, Tony brings his big wheel and he grinds the knives on that. Miller Farms, they've been with the market since I started. And when I started, I was working with their parents and they were younger, much younger.
Everybody was younger.
Yeah, and same with Nichols Farm, who's out in Marengo. They've been with us for many, many years. And it's kind of neat to see now the kids doing it. And of course the parents are no longer working the markets, but.
Now, what do vendors do when they sign up for the farmers market? Is there a fee? Is there a charge? Is there?
Yeah, there is a fee. It's the fee is $215 per season. I sell out on full season booth spaces. I do have some booths that may be available on a daily basis. Those are $40 per day. We really like to sell out with a full season booth so that there's not a lot of changing of vendors during the course of the year, so that way people know where they're, what they can expect. The vendors fill out an application and submit it to me early in the year, usually by around the end of February, early March. And then I take all the applications, give preference to the previous vendors, and then determine how many open spots I have after I have them all set up. And then this year I only had 3 open spots to choose new vendors. So some years it's pretty tight competition getting a space at our market.
I can imagine, yeah, really. It's that popular. I mean, it draws a lot of people, and it benefits the merchants that are at Town Square, certainly.
So another nice thing this year that we're doing is Spring Valley Nature Sanctuary comes once a month, and they'll talk about things going on at the Heritage Farm, and they'll bring some vegetables that they grow there. And this year, we're going to have the University of Illinois Extension Service Master Gardeners come once a month. So people can come and, ask a Master Gardener a question about their landscaping or what they're doing in their yards. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think it's a great addition to the farmers market.
Now, I'm sure you've got honey producers there too, right?
Yeah.
And we have a public hive area, don't we, in Schaumburg?
Yeah, we do have a community bee garden located off of Plum Grove Road. Residents are welcome to come and do their beekeeping there in the bee garden. There is no fee for that. However, the participants in the bee garden do have to submit an application and then provide proof of insurance as well as registration of their hive with the state of Illinois.
How many bee gardeners do we have?
We have 3 that are out there with a total of 7 hives.
Okay. Are these new to the bee garden, or are they from carryover from last year?
These are from last year. The bee garden's really only been going, this is pretty much our second full year, and so we're pretty happy with it. I was out there just the other day, and the bees look very hardy. There was lots of action around the hives. So.
Okay, all right. Now, if somebody wanted more information about the farmers market, who they call, and what's the number?
Well, they can call me, and my number is 847-923-3855. Or they could email me at mdooley@villageofschaumburg.com.
The farmers market lady, right?
Yes, the farmers market lady, yeah.
Well, thanks, Martha.
Thank you.
Appreciate your being here. The Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association of Schaumburg shares information about their upcoming events. Learn more next here on Speaking of Schaumburg. The Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association of Schaumburg assists the village and the police department through volunteerism and community projects. Here to tell us about upcoming events is Bill Flesch, president of the association. Well, welcome to Speaking of Schaumburg, Bill.
Thank you. Good morning, Al. Happy to be here.
Now, what is the Police Academy, and what do you do as far as you're president of the Police Academy, I assume? And
I am president of the Schaumburg Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association. And I really can't talk about the association without talking just briefly about the CPA, which is the Citizens Police Academy. So in order to become part of our alumni association, you first have to go through a 10-week class, which is the Citizens Police Academy held here in Schaumburg, offered by the Schaumburg Police Department. It's a 10-week class that's offered in the spring and in the fall. And frankly, was started in 1996 under Chief Palmer, I believe.
Sure, yeah.
And then was taken over by Officer Tim Young, and has since survived for close to 25 years.
How long have you been with the association?
I actually went through the class in 2011, and I've been president for 2.5 years.
Nobody else wants to take on the duties.
Nobody else wants the job at the moment, but I'm actually the 7th president of the organization. I believe your executive assistant, Carmen Selke, was our 2nd or 3rd president, if memory serves me correct.
I think you're right, yeah.
So essentially, one goes through the class. The class is open to all Schaumburg residents 18 or older. It's also open to anyone who works in the village of Schaumburg, 18 or older, that would like to take the class. And of course, I highly recommend it. I will tell you that it's 10 weeks of probably the most educational information you'll receive about the police department. Specifically, of course, the Schaumburg Police Department.
Give us some examples of some of the things that you learn as a member of the association.
Yeah, the classes are held on Wednesday, and as I say, it's a 10-week course, and they cover everything from what a tactical officer would do out on the street, to firearms training, to actually going to the range and firing a weapon. We also do an evening of 9/11 police car calls, if you will, 9/11 emergency calls, and what an officer faces when they're confronted by specific types of individuals, if you will, sure. And adversarial situations. So we place the students into those situations and give them an opportunity to make a decision as to whether to arrest that individual or as to whether to potentially use force against that person. The Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association represents the department in a variety of different events throughout the course of the year, and we end up being ambassadors, if you will, ambassadors of goodwill for the police department at each of these events, and they range from anywhere from parking cars for St. Peter's Memorial Day Veterans event to upcoming events such as National Night Out the police department holds in August. It's the first Tuesday in August.
Tell me about the National Night Out, or tell us about the National Night Out.
National Night Out is really a great event for the village and for the police department and for the community. It allows the community, various apartment complexes and neighborhood associations, townhouse associations to hold an event in their neighborhood, weather permitting. They hold it outdoors. It's a picnic type of affair.
A lot of kids there.
Tons of kids, and we show up with McGruff, which is the police dog, and the canine unit will show up at the event, and various police officers. But the intent of National Night Out is to promote awareness of crime prevention and also promote the police department in a positive light, and to show those youngsters that the police officer is there to be your friend and to protect you and to help you in the event of any type of need.
Now, you not only volunteer for the Alumni Association, but you also work for Septemberfest, don't you?
It is work, actually, yeah. Even though it's a volunteer position. I've been doing that for 20 plus years. Okay. I've been on the Septemberfest committee, I'm proud to say, and have enjoyed my tenure. I book the entertainment for the fest. I helped with the main stage for many years. I don't do that anymore. Now I book entertainment for the small stage and the dining tent and the grounds, and it's as you know, Al, and as the residents know, it's a major event for this village.
It sure is.
I pride myself on bringing in diverse acts and a variety of entertainment each year that differs, and
a lot of local things too.
A lot of local things. I always try to bring out local dance troops in the Schaumburg Park District, sure. And the District 54 is a big part of what I do at the fest. They bring out their choral groups, and they bring out their orchestras and their bands, and the kids practice all year long just to play at Septemberfest, and they always have a different T-shirt every year. And actually, the Citizens Police Academy is a big part of Septemberfest. We have assisted the police department in supporting the command center. We have a volunteer that will sit in the command center throughout the course of the fest, starting 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And essentially that volunteer answers questions and really relieves the police officer from having to deal with a lot of things that are not necessarily law enforcement related, such as lost and found, or where's the baby changing station, or where can I go to get an ATM, things of that nature.
How many members do you have in the association, Bill?
And actually, I'll throw out some numbers for you. We have about 1,000 people that have attended the classes since 1996.
Wow.
It's an astronomical number. We've retained about 300 of those 1,000 on our email list, and we have today roughly 70 active dues-paying volunteers that will volunteer at events throughout the course of the year. Every one of our volunteers at one point in time either worked or lived in Schaumburg.
Okay.
We do have volunteers that have since moved out of the area. Some live in Huntley, a few live in Elgin. There's actually one couple that live in southern Illinois that come back for the parade and march in the parade as volunteers for us every year.
Who would that be?
I knew you were gonna ask me that name, and I don't recall their name because I saw them the first time this last year.
Yeah, okay.
I was able to get them out, and that's the one thing I don't have. I apologize.
No, that's perfectly okay.
But I was so pleased to see them. It was a young couple that took the class several years ago, and they brought their young son out. And so it was very exciting for us as an organization to see this young couple and this baby being pushed in the cart up the parade route in the rain, and they were troopers. They had a great time. And it's like anything else. It goes in cycles. Our volunteer list comes from the CPA class, so we do our best to recruit those folks after they graduate from the class. It's really up to the president and my fellow board members and our organization itself to sell those folks after they've graduated to join the Alumni Association.
How many board members do you have?
We have 5 board members. We have, if you don't mind me naming,
go ahead.
John Linder is our vice president. Pat Zakumsky, who is a longtime Schaumburg resident, is our treasurer. Nancy Fallon, who's our recording secretary, has been in the organization for about 5 or 6 years. And a newcomer, our corresponding secretary, is Christine Serwinski. Okay. So we're very pleased with our board. They're a very, very active board. They participate in almost all of the events that we have and are there to support our volunteers on a regular basis.
If somebody want more information about the Alumni Association, who would they call? You?
Yeah, great question. Actually, they can go to a number of different places. They can go to Facebook. We actually have a Facebook page, CPAAAS Facebook page, or they can go to our website, which is CPAAAS.org, which gives a ton of information and includes a calendar of events that they can actually see what events we'll be volunteering at throughout the course of the year. It changes, of course, depending on the police department's needs, or they can contact me at cpaas@outlook.com.
And you would be who?
I would be Bill Flesch, president of CPAAAS.
Bill, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me. We appreciate it. And please join. There's a new class starting in September, so hopefully Schaumburg residents will sign up for it.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Pancakes are on the menu in June for Father's Day. Learn more next here on Speaking of Schaumburg. What better way to honor our fathers than by taking them to the 30th Annual Father's Day Pancake Breakfast at Schaumburg Regional Airport? Bob Myers and Bob Brandt from the Experimental Aircraft Association, Chapter 153, are here to tell us about this popular event. Tell us about this popular event.
Well, you sums it up by calling it the Father's Day Pancake Breakfast. We have it every Father's Day, and we have pancakes, sausages, orange juice, coffee, milk and toppings for the pancakes and eggs. Weather permitting, hopefully there'll be airplanes that fly on in for the day, and hopefully we'll be able to offer rides, weather permitting as well.
How many members do you have?
Our chapter has about 40 members. Our chapter has a number of different focuses. There's a lot of people who enjoy different types of things about aviation, but we happen to have a lot of builders.
You're a builder, aren't you?
I am a builder. I'm a two-time builder. I'm a serial builder. I'm on number 2. And so there are a lot of builders. But then there's other categories of experimental aircraft and also type certified aircraft, such as vintage aircraft, which Bob has a vintage aircraft. There's aerobatic aircraft, and a number of different types of experimental exhibition, experimental build, amateur built, which is what where I fit in.
Are you based at Schaumburg Airport?
I'm not, although there are a lot of people based at Schaumburg. I happen to come out to this chapter because there are so many builders. I happen to keep my airplane at Gary, but I come out here all the time, so I use the airport quite a bit.
Bob? Bob?
Well, I wish my plane was at Schaumburg. It's such a nice airport. I keep it at DuPage. There's a waiting list for the nice hangars at Schaumburg right now.
Sure.
I'm on the list.
Yeah. What kind of a plane do you have?
A 1955 Cessna 180, which has they call it a tail dragger because the little tail's in the back. It's kind of how most planes used to be in the olden days. Now more of them are built with a little nose wheel up front, so it's like called a tricycle gear is the common way of building. But in the back country and in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, mine's a 55, so that had the tail wheel.
Really? What's the lifespan on these aircraft? I mean, how long can you keep flying them before they...
If you take care of it, it could go... Mine's only 60 years old, so I'm hoping I get 80, 90, 100 years out of it with me still flying it.
Wow. Well, definitely. Yeah. Don't want to terminate you too early.
You're right.
Wow. How long have you been flying?
25 years.
25 years.
This was my father's plane before I bought it from him.
What got you interested in aviation?
My father was an aerial photographer and Navy World War II aerial photographer, so we used to go on a lot of, and then he bought a plane early 50s and kind of traded planes a lot, so we were always like flying somewhere, like Lake Lawn Lodge for the,
Sure.
They have their little strip outside the hotel. That's a fun destination for the family.
Is that Fox Lake? Is it?
Lake Delavan.
Lake Delavan, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, and of course the famous Lake Geneva. It used to be the Playboy Club. Now it's Grand Geneva Resort. They have an airstrip right alongside of it. That's a fun hotel fly-in destination.
Have you ever fly up there at all?
I have. I've not met up with Bob, although that's a popular thing for a lot of people to do, is fly out to someplace, particularly like for a breakfast, or we call it the $100 hamburger, and which is great. Pilot Pete's right here. A lot of people come to Schaumburg, come here and then eat at Pilot Pete's. Or I go out to another airport, eat at their restaurants, and it's a fun day for me and my wife just to go out. And one time last summer we flew out to a place in Michigan where they give you free ice cream. So we figured it was $25.
That's worth the trip, right?
Yeah, it
I
is.
bought fuel and figured it was $25 a scoop for the ice cream.
But you have to go somewhere, right?
Absolutely. They have to go somewhere. My wife particularly likes to follow rivers, so on a nice, quiet, really calm day, we'll get out and then we'll fly, and I'll fly fairly low and we'll just follow some of the rivers around. We last year, one of the trips we got up, we followed the Rock River all the way down to the Mississippi.
That's a pretty river.
Yeah.
Blackhawk is right, the statue's right there.
Yes.
That's
Blackhawk,
right.
Yeah. So what got you interested in aviation?
I was a lifelong enthusiast of aviation. I had collected pictures that other people took, and then I took pictures of lots of airplanes. I always loved to be around them. Just a fascinating thing. I remember as a kid growing up, I had I'd do my homework on a little plastic tablet that had a Learjet on it, and I would just dream about owning that Learjet. I've never made the jet, but now having an airplane, having built an airplane, it's just everything I thought it would be.
When I was growing up, we used to have balsa kits of different kinds of airplanes.
Yeah. Balsa kits. I built lots of balsa kits.
Yeah. Yes. And my brother, there was always a little bit of competition involved here, just to,
Well, my brother happens to be a big RC model or a remote controlled model airplane builder, and all kinds. I just told him that I just wanted to build a 1-to-1 scale model, so I just built the real thing rather than a model finally.
Now, where did the experimental part come into the picture here? I mean, it's a Experimental Aircraft Association, and that sounds to me like it's, you're tinkering. Well, let's try this.
To some extent, it is legitimately an experiment, but what it allows you to do is the experimental amateur build has a number of rules that allow a private citizen to build an airplane and go through a certification process so they can fly it. Bob's airplane, when it came out, is a type certified airplane, which means that once the government said it was safe, then every copy that Cessna made would be the same. And so as long as you maintained it to that standard, it would be safe by the government. In the case of the experimental, the government doesn't want to have too many airplanes that are out there that aren't tested safe, so there are additional rules. There's rules for while they'll let me to do it. I can't get into the airplane manufacturing business. I can only do it for my own education or for my own enjoyment. Those are legitimate reasons, and I must build over 50% of the airplane. And if I do myself and not hiring somebody to do that, if I do that, then I'll go through a test program of over 40 hours in my case, 40 hours exactly in my case. Then I have to prove that it's a safe aircraft. Once that happens, then my airplane is treated the same as Bob.
Well, how do you prove that it's safe? I mean, hey, Bob, try this out for me.
Yeah.
I had a first flight in the airplane that was, a first, like a test flight, and it was a very trying thing. It's the first time this airplane.
You say trying, it sounds really scary.
It's scary, but it's thrilling at the same time. You know what you've done. I knew the airplane was physically safe. It was from a kit, so it wasn't my own design. I wasn't concerned that the aerodynamics weren't going to work. But I built the engine, and so you're worried about the engine. But in terms of testing it, you're limited. You have to fly in a test area. The test areas aren't, obviously, there's no test area over Schaumburg. You can't go flying over Schaumburg. And in that area, then you have to do stall testing. You have to do all the tests that Bob's airplane essentially went through.
And if somebody wanted more information about the Experimental Aircraft Association,
EAA.org is the parent organization. You can go there. You can find out about different chapters. Our chapter is EAA153.com, C-O-M. You can go there and you can send us questions, or there's a phone number there you can call.
How many in your chapter?
About almost 50.
Hey, Bob.
Nice talking to you again, Al.
Thank you, Mr. Larson.
Glad you can make it.
Likewise. Thank you.
This will do it for this edition of Speaking of Schaumburg. Join us again next month for an all-new episode. Until then, I'll see you around town.